Okay, so welcome to today's conversation. Um, so, in the last week, we read chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita till shlok number 30, where Krishna is teaching Arjun and sharing with him the reality of Atman. And he is sharing the wisdom with him that Atma is indestructible and it never ends. So he doesn't need to worry about, you know, the fear that he will kill somebody. Instead, he invites Arjun to remember this truth or this reality of our existence and do what is rightfully his action to be done. And today we'll be beginning from shlok 31 onwards. And now, in these shloks that we would cover today, what Krishna is doing is he is explaining to Arjun by the way of explaining about the dharma and karma, which is the rightful action that a person should do, and that how uh, fighting in this war of Kurukshetra, war of Mahabharat, is rightfully is the right action for him because he's a Kshatriya. So let's begin with the shlok number 31. Swadharmam api cha avekshya na vikampitum arhasi. Dharmyat hi yuddhat shreyah anyatah kshatriyasya na vidyate. क्षत्रिय होने के नाते अपने विशिष्ट धर्म का विचार करते हुए तुम्हें जानना चाहिए कि धर्म के लिए युद्ध करने से बढ़कर तुम्हारे लिए अन्य कोई कार्य नहीं है, अतः तुम्हें संकोच करने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है. So he brings his attention to the fact that he is a Kshatriya. Now, just to explain a little bit about what a Kshatriya is, in the Vedic time in India, there used to be so society was divided on the basis of the prime karma or the task that people would do depending upon their capability and skills. And they were divided in 4 different sections of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudras. And Kshatriya was the warrior people who would be physically strong and who would be whose prime purpose would be to fight the wars, protect people, and take care of the kingdom. Brahmins were primarily uh, the people who were in the responsibility of learning the Vedas, Upanishads, and passing on these teachings to their disciples, and also teaching all different kind of skill sets to their disciples. Not really disciples, but the students, so to say, Shishya, as per the Guru Shishya Parampara. And then they were also responsible for all the religious activities and Karm Kand and Puja Path, etc. Then there were Vaishyas who were responsible for the business, the transactions, the trade, and all those kind of professions. And then were the Shudras who were primarily responsible for the work that you do through your hand and through your body. So all the work that was in the agriculture, all the handiworks of, the sculptures and various other forms of work which require a specific skill of your hand were called as the Shudras. So these were the 4 Varn Vyavastha, primarily the division of labor, I would say. And so Krishna is reminding Arjun that he is a Kshatriya. So being a Kshatriya, he has a specific purpose or he has a specific work that he's supposed to be doing, which is his dharma. So he's reminding him that it's his dharma because he's a Kshatriya that he need to fight. So therefore, He doesn't need to feel any inhibition to participate in this war. Yaticha cha upapatram swargadwaram apvakritam sukhinah kshatriya पार्थ लभन्ते युद्धम ईदृशम। हे पार्थ, वे क्षत्रिय सुखी हैं जिन्हें ऐसे युद्ध के अवसर अपने आप प्राप्त होते हैं, जिससे उनके लिए स्वर्गलोक के द्वार खुल जाते हैं। Now he brings in this conversation of Swarg because Arjun, in his anguish, he sort of brought in the arguments of, like, if he participates in this war and if he fights his elders and his gurus, he will go to Narak, or he'll go to hell and he will not go to heaven. Whereas Krishna is saying that because you are a Kshatriya, if you participate in this war, if you fight, then the door of heavens will open for you. But if you run away from what is your duty or what is your dharma, then you will go to Nark. And then he further says, At chet tvam imam dharmayam sangramam na karishyasi tatah swadharmam kirtim chahitva papam avapsyasi. He says, if you will not fight, because it is, and he uses a word swadharma, which means that all of us have our own specific dharma, which is very personal to us. So he says that being a kshatriya, to fight, is your swadharma, and if you will run away from this, then for sure you will get pap, you will lose your dignity, or you will lose your might, and then you will get hell. Akirtim cha api bhutani kathishyanti te vyayam संभावितस्य च कीर्तिम रणा अतिरिच्यते। लोग सदैव तुम्हारे अपयश का वर्णन करेंगे और सम्मानित व्यक्ति के लिए अपयश तो मृत्यु से भी बढ़कर होता है। Yeah, that's a good point, Manmeet.
If you want, I can say it out, Komal, if you allow me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't want to break your flow of thought.
No, not at all. We are doing this to understand it better. So any question, any point in between, just put it out there.
So, Komal, why today in 2023 we are reading Gita is because we are trying to go back to our scriptures to find our path. And today, when I'm sitting in this life of mine, I'm wondering how, as if Krishna is talking to me, saying that do your duty.
Yes.
And I think this is our biggest dichotomy in life where we get stuck. That what is the duty of our life? What is my dharma? What is right for me? Even though I don't believe in hell or heaven, I'm not really worried about my afterlife. But we reach these crossroads so many times. So how do I really understand what Krishna is telling me? So Arjun is a Kshatriya. His job is to fight. Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. That's a very beautiful question. And that's where it says swadharma, that means that there is a personal sense of duty, and there's a personal sense of dharma attached and associated to all of us. And it's quite simple here to understand for Arjun because he's a Kshatriya, he is a warrior, he's a fighter. So his dharma is to fight. It's pretty simple. But what is our dharma? That indicates, first of all, to the question is like, the question is, who am I? Because when I would know who am I or how I'm addressing myself right now, I would know what really is my duty. So it's a very beautiful question, very valid question. And I'm sure Gita, while we go through this reading, we will get more and more clear about what exactly is swadharma and how to identify that. But I think important question that at this point, at this juncture, we should keep in our mind is that there is a purpose and duty to each one of us. And once we know that, it gets simpler to follow the life path. And in order to reach that understanding of what is my personal dharma, first question to answer is really, who am I in this world, in this body, so that then I can know that, okay, this is my dharma. And it's not just related to what work we do or what profession I am into. For example, if I am a doctor, that is one way of knowing myself. Then as a doctor, what would be the dharma of a doctor? Is to be in service of the patient, is to heal, right? Or if I am a mother, then what is my dharma? There is a certain duty that I have as a mother. Yeah, to your point, Manmeet. So first thing comes is, how do I define myself? And then in that definition, what role or what duty is uh, I should be doing, which supports both me and the system in which I'm operating or where I'm functioning. So, if as a mother, my dharma is to nurture my children, then if I fall short of doing anything which is nurturing for them, then that brings me a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, and what we also call as the path. And if I'm nurturing them, then that means that I'm doing my rightful duty. And that creates more harmony in the system, both for me and for people around me. So we can try and understand at a surface level that our dharma is something which is associated with the different roles that we play. And the same person can have different roles towards different people. That means that my dharma towards my specific one specific role could be different from another role.
Yeah. And I think the issue comes when these two dharmas clash, where, in my case, I can say there's a clash as a woman,
Mm-hmm.
as a being first, and then as a mother. So many times I want to live the woman in me, but the mother in me asks for, I won't say the word sacrifice, but my dharma takes over.
Mm.
And so, which dharma do I choose in different situations? Also, I think Arjun, for that matter, is also a brother, a son. He has so many roles in his life, yet
Yeah.
Krishna somewhere is reminding him he's a Kshatriya. So I'm quite curious to know what you read next. That will that get unraveled? That why he's reminding him to be a Kshatriya in that moment, and not that you are the son or the brother, or for that matter, a human being who's on this earth who should be paropkari, kind, or whatever. So pretty curious here.
Yeah. And while we'll see that, one thing which is coming to me is that I think, and how I personally understand it is that, so there are these circles of impact and influence around different roles that we play. Like me as a woman, as an individual, as a person, is for me. And then when I see myself as a mother, I am seeing my relationship with my children. So, whatever my actions are, they are going to impact another life, which is my children, right? Then, if I consider that, okay, I live in a country and I'm a citizen, or then suppose I'm also a doctor, that takes me to my duty towards the sick people, the patients, or the people who I've chosen to serve, right? And then I'm also a citizen, so I have some roles and duties and responsibilities towards the nation where I am. And so when there is some sort of a conflict amongst these different roles, which role I would choose, and what would be the right action and what would be the wrong action. So I think there could be different ways. These are the dilemmas of life, but there could be different ways of choosing about all of these different roles is. And I think no path is a wrong path when we make a choice in awareness to that. I can say that, okay, yes, being a mother is very, very important to me. I would always put my children's need first. But if I'm extremely exhausted and tired and I feel like, no, the woman in me right now needs more attention, because if I don't do that, I would not be able to be present for my children even, then very consciously, knowing very well, I put my needs uh, on priority to my children, and I can then and then I have a choice to give myself more time and attention. But if I do it consciously, then I would also ensure that I convey this to my children that right now I'm taking time for myself. I'm not, at this point of time, I may not be available to you. So have patience, hang on, because I need my own time. Similarly, the question of whether my children are more important or my work is more important, who would I choose? If my son is sick at home, will I attend to my son? Or if one of my patient is sick in the hospital, will I go to hospital? So these are questions which nobody can answer for you. And none of them is wrong. You can choose to be a mother and be with your son, or you can choose to be a doctor and go and see your patient. But the point is, do it with a consciousness. Do it in awareness and say that, yes, I have chosen to be in this role in this moment and do my dharma towards this role. And then whatever happens, happens. Does that help a little bit? I mean, that's just my way of looking at it. I'm sure there could be other ways of looking at it as well.
Yeah. No, Komal, it perfectly makes sense. And what I clearly hear and what I myself also try to do is that once you make a choice, don't carry the guilt.
Yeah.
Don't be at two places and uh, hold on to the fact when you say that no path is the wrong path. What you have chosen, also somewhere the universe is behind you in making that choice. That's why you make that choice. So very curious now to see how
Let's come
Krishna is
together.
helping Arjun make that choice. Thank you so much.
So for now, he is just answering to all of the arguments that Arjun put forth in chapter 1 to Krishna. Because he was saying, like, if I do this, then I will be the papi, and people will say this, and this will happen to the clan, and everything will be destroyed. So he's addressing his concern about what people are going to say. So he says, "Ke, when you will run away from war and when you do not fight and you are a very respectful person, then you will have a bad name. And for a respectful person, earning a bad name is even, graver than death. भयात् रणात् उपरत मन्स्यन्ते त्वां महारथः येषां च त्वं बहुमतः भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्." He says, जिन जिन महान योद्धाओं ने तुम्हारे नाम तथा यश को सम्मान दिया है, वे सोचेंगे कि तुम डर के मारे युद्ध भूमि छोड़ दी है और इस तरह वे तुम्हें तुच्छ मानेंगे. So he is trying to tell him that, whatever is your reason to run away, even if it is because you think that you cannot fight with your respected people, people are not going to see you like that. They will just see that, oh, you did a cowardly act and you just ran away from fighting because you didn't have it in you. And then whatever is your name, or that all will go down in the drain. अवाच्य वादांच बहून वदिष्यन्ति तव अहिता निंदन्ति त्व सामर्थ्यम ततः दुःखतरम नु किम। तुम्हारे शत्रु अनेक प्रकार के कटु शब्दों से तुम्हारा वर्णन करेंगे और तुम्हारी सामर्थ्य का उपहास करेंगे। तुम्हारे लिए इससे दुखदाई और क्या हो सकता है। So he is, in a way, it seems on surface like he's trying to convince him to fight by telling him that how, people are going to look at him if he doesn't fight. But it deep down, he is sort of trying to indicate to Arjun that whatever has been the reasons he put forth in front of, or the arguments that he put forth, they don't stand anywhere, because there is a counter argument to all those arguments at all the time. So what is he really thinking about? So he's trying to indicate to him that those arguments are falsities that he was looking into, and he's trying to take him to the root of his decision. हतो व प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गं जित्वा व भोक्ष्यसे महीम् तस्मात् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृत निश्चय. So he said, if you are killed in the war, you will get heaven. And if you win, then you would be able to get the kingdom on this earth. So make a sankalp, or, and get up and fight. Sukha dukhe samay kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasu nevam papam vapsyasi. So now he again comes to he goes beyond dharma. Now he comes to the karma part of his action, and he says, keep sukh and dukh. Oh, Jessica is joining. Good time. Hi, Jessica. Welcome. So he's saying कि सुख दुख हानि लाभ जय पराजय को का विचार किए बिना युद्ध के लिए युद्ध करो, ऐसा करने से तुम्हें कोई पाप नहीं लगेगा. So he's saying, if you do not worry about whether you're going to win or lose, whether you're going to be alive or you will be killed, whatever will happen, just don't think of it. Do your deed because this need to be done. And that's how you will not get any hell, you will not get any path. Which means just do your karma, because that is what you're supposed to do, because that is your dharma as well. An interesting thing is we cannot understand entirely dharma and karma in separation, because whenever we think about the right action or karma, it is associated with dharma or the duty. एषा ते अभिहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्विमां शृणु बुद्धया युक्तो यथा यया पार्थ कर्म बंधम प्रहास्यसि. So he says, hey, I have explained this to you from Sankhya, after reading the Sankhya, and after this, so if you do the rightful action by understanding and by knowing what is a rightful action, then you'll be free from what he says karma bandhan, or what we say. So in Hinduism, we believe in this cyclical nature of the world, or sansar or maya, where we say that when we die, we are born again, and then we live another life, then we die, and then we are born again. And why that does that happen is because there are some karmas that we have to go through. There are some sanchit karmas that we have, which make us get born again and live a life. And then the cycle goes on. But once we've understood our dharma and our karma and we live rightfully, then that helps us to go beyond this cyclical nature of the Maya or Sansar, and then we can find moksha, which is the ultimate liberation. So he says that what I've told you, that is this sukha dukhe samay kritva labha labho jaya jayo, he goes back in this essence that Sankhya says, and Sankhya is one of the philosophies in Hinduism. There have been primarily 6 philosophies: Vedanta, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, and one more, which I'm forgetting. And yoga, that we know, is based on Sankhya philosophy as well. So Sankhya is like the theoretical aspect, whereas yoga is like the practical aspect. But both Sankhya and yoga are very closely linked. So in some of the shlokas which are going to be coming next, what Krishna is trying to do is he's trying to explain certain aspects of Sankhya, which would help Arjun understand, like, what is this keeping sukh and dukh at the same level and how to sort of do that. And please keep coming in between. Oops, sorry. What did I do? I did it by mistake. Okay. Neha abhigram nasho asti pratyavayo na vidyate स्व अल्पम अस्य धर्मस्य त्रायते महतो भयात्. इस प्रयास में ना तो हानि होती है ना ही ह्रास, अपितु इस पथ पर की गई अल्प प्रगति भी महान भय से रक्षा करती है. Now he's talking about the karma or the rightful action. Okay, so before we move on, moksha is, so again in Vedic Hinduism, there are 4 purusharths. Purusharths means doable deeds, like what is something that we should aspire for in our life, and there are 4 rightful aspirations that are indicated, which are called as purusharths. So these purusharths are dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. Dharma is again to do your duty, to follow the right path that has been chosen for you, which means your purpose. That means any endeavor done towards dharma or towards your purpose is a very good endeavor to aspire for. Then is earth. Earth is basically all the activities associated in creating something, so it in the world. And earth is also a word used in Sanskrit for money. So any effort which is done towards uh, creating or generating wealth or generating anything, like any structure or any art or anything like that in the world that is manifesting, is earth, which means to do some work or get into some profession or even doing agriculture. Anything which gets you the means to sustain yourself and your family and your society is when you that is an endeavor which is worth aspiring for. Third is the karma, and karma sometimes is very narrowly understood as sex or pleasure, but karma is more like enjoying the life, like really grasping everything which is like pleasurable and which makes life beautiful. those kind of actions, which it could be music, it could be art, it could also be, different things that make life beautiful and pleasurable, and learning those or getting indulged into those activities. And then fourth is moksha, which is liberation. So that means uh, going beyond all of this humdrum of life and getting the right kind of knowledge, doing the right kind of action, at and understanding what it really means to go beyond this maya or the trap of this world, and eventually how to liberate yourself. And in those old Hindu ways of being and traditions, these all four actions have been considered worthy. None of them was seen as, demeaning. Although for different life stages, these four purusharthas were suggested. And so a person's life was also segregated into different, depending upon their age groups, was segregated into the significance or importance of these roles. For example, so there was this so there were four ashrams: Brahmacharya ashram, then Grihastha ashram, then Vanprastha ashram, and then Sannyas ashram, the last one. So it was like up till a certain age of maybe till 18, 20 years of age is when you are in the Brahmacharya ashram, where dharma and getting yourself prepared to follow the different paths of life were more important for a student. So you would be more indulged in the activities of studying and educating yourself or learning different arts or skill sets. But the prime aspiring goal in a student's life was dharma. Then came the life of grihasthashram, where you will get married or you will get, you will take on the responsibilities of family and livelihood. And in that particular ashram, earth and calm became very, very prominent. Dharma is, of course, there a very underlying, element amongst all the four different stages of life. But in grihastha ashram, earth and calm would take prominence also, because that is an age and stage where you are going to be earning, and your earning would also help sustain not just your family but the society at large as well. And then in the third Vanprasthashram, where your children have grown up and then now they are like the marriageable age, and so you can sort of retire basically, but stay close by and sort of mentor and guide your children now, so that they can do their duties and their responsibilities and they can enjoy. And in that ashram, you move yourself away from earth and calm. So you're not actively indulged in earning money or in the pleasures of life, but you sort of start detaching yourself from that stage. And then again, dharma, and then preparing towards moksha become like really, really important for you. And then in the fourth and the later stage of life, you completely let go of the everything worldly. You go to the forests, and that's why it's called Vanprasth ashram, where you go and take your sannyas, or where you meditate or do prayer or just get liberated. So that was primarily the sort of a construct for society. Yeah, Manmeet, go ahead.
Woman, very interesting. And I'm not going to follow this blindly, but since we are seeking some light from our scriptures, I want to understand that do the scriptures anywhere? You said there was an age division. what I understand is that moksha is a calling. There are people who are like really beyond their age, still stuck in their pleasures, and
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense that when you're in the grahast jivan, how sex will take a primary space in your life. You need to reproduce, right? Otherwise, how will you create a family?
And they would
Um,
say that it should, because in that,
yeah,
if you are in Grihastha ashram, it should take a prime place in your life. Yeah.
yeah. So that's quite nice because there's a lot of validation from the scriptures here. Usually, it's criticized a lot by the moral police of life. So, I'm curious to know, do they anywhere comment about this calling which comes to you? Because this calling can come really early.
Yeah.
And also, another question which we have seen in life of Buddha also, you need to go through the grahast and the earth stage to finally call for moksha because you have done all of it. They say, been there, done that. So Buddha also went through that cyclical nature before he realized, I want to give up everything and then live this moksha, find this moksha. So is it possible that if you haven't really fully gone through those two stages, moksha is tough, or you can actually jump the stages? Just curious.
I think, no, that's a very interesting question. But the whole point is, see, even in those days in society, after brahmacharya ashram, like after you've gone through your student life, there's like different life paths open up for people. Not everybody would choose to go to the grihastha ashram. Some would choose to just follow a certain path of their art or any other work, where they say that I would just want to contribute, I would just want to dedicate myself to my art or the work that I'm doing. And then there were other also who will go to sannyas ashram immediately after brahmacharya ashram. So there used to be those sannyasins also who used to have their calling in a very young age, and they'll say that nothing doing, I don't need to go to grihastha ashram, or I do not need to get into any earth or calm, aspiration, purusharths. I am just cut out to go into sannyas ashram, and they would see directly, they will go to sannyas ashrams. They used to be these young monks, right? One of the example is Adi Shankaracharya, who revived Vedanta in India. He was 8 years old when he took sannyas and he was a monk. So there have been such many examples where not everybody would choose a certain path, but they would choose some other path. So marriage wasn't cut out for everybody, which now I feel in current day society, like everybody is supposed to follow a path, like do your school, then you must go to college or university, and then you must get a job, then you get a wife, and then you have children, and then so it's like a very boxed cut out kind of life. Whereas I think all those paths have been open to all the people. So, and those initial years of brahmacharya ashram were very, very important, because by the time you would have studied, you would know what is your calling for life, which these days happen to a whole lot of us pretty late in life. Yeah, maybe. Because, but Manmeet, sometimes I wonder, because I see a lot of younger people now, like children, my children's age, or even younger people, who I feel have got much more clarity in their thought. It seems like they know their calling very early and in very young age. And yeah, and we are still uh, trying to find. I agree with you, Jessica.
I
Yeah,
think the fact someone like Jessica can say she's still finding her calling is itself shows that she's out of that box thinking. At least I did not get that freedom. I was pushed into my grahast jivan.
yeah,
So I think the younger generation is. The fact they're even asked to, given the freedom to question, that's hence the clarity, hence that space.
Yeah, exactly. And it is so interesting because the more I read these old scriptures and the more I explore and get to know about our Vedic culture and the societies of that time, I feel and find that they've been way more modern in so many ways that not every woman was required to marry and bear children. They've been examples of wise, learned, educated women who would do shastrarts you know, um, with the really learned rishis and would just study and choose to live a celibate life and have their own path to follow. And nowadays, we sort of fill the minds of the young ladies that all they have to do in life is look for a knight in shining armor or just get married. It's not necessary. It wasn't necessary in those days as well. So, anyways, let's see what happens. Let's see what Sankhya says about the karma or the rightful action. Because what Krishna says, if when we have the correct understanding of our rightful action, then we would not have any fear. We would have more clarity. Vyavasayatmika buddhireka. Ah, thank you, Jessica. I hope it helps. Kuru Nandan Bahushaka Hannasht Buddhayo Vyavasayinam. जो इस मार्ग पर चलते हैं वे प्रयोजन में दृढ़ रहते हैं और उनका लक्ष्य भी एक होता है। हे कुरुनंदन, जो दृढ़ प्रतिज्ञ नहीं होते उनकी बुद्धि अनेक शाखाओं में विभक्त रहती है। So here Krishna explains something about Shraddha, Drid Shraddha. And it simply means that you have this undying faith or belief in something. So when you have the right knowledge, when you have the right understanding, it helps you strengthen your belief in something. It could be any concept, any understanding. And then that helps you become very, very clear. And I think this is one of the key to what we are discussing right now is that the right knowledge, the right understanding really help us move away from the state of dilemma, but become very, very sure within ourselves. The difference between people who are very sure of themselves is that they know something deeply and that doesn't let them waver or get into this state of dilemma. Yam imam pushpitam वाचं प्रवदयन्ति विपश्चितः वेदवादरतः पार्थ न अन्यतीति वादिनः कामात्मनः स्वर्गपरा जन्म कर्म फलप्रदां क्रिया विशेष बहुलां भोग ऐश्वर्य गतिं प्रति। अल्पज्ञानी मनुष्य वेदों के उन अलंकारिक शब्दों के प्रति अत्यधिक आसक्त रहते हैं जो स्वर्ग की प्राप्ति, अच्छे जन्म, शक्ति इत्यादि के लिए विविध सकाम कर्म करने की संस्तुति करते हैं। इंद्रिय तृप्ति तथा ऐश्वर्य जीवन की अभिलाषा के कारण वे कहते हैं कि इससे बढ़कर और कुछ नहीं है। So here Krishna is explaining like those people who are he uses the word alpagani, which means when your knowledge is not concrete, when your knowledge is not complete, people who think of themselves as intelligent but who really do not have the right understanding, who only follow the actions with the purpose of thinking that oh, they'll get some benefits. They are primarily the people who are invested more and more in their sensory attachments. Like sensory, or at a sensory level, whatever feels good or whatever has a hope to feel good, you go towards those actions. And whatever doesn't feel like, oh, it's going to get any benefit, I'm not going to do that. भोग ऐश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां तया हचेत्सां व्यवसायत्मिका बुद्धि समाधो न विधीयते। जो लोग इंद्रिय भोग तथा भौतिक ऐश्वर्य के प्रति अत्यधिक आसक्त होने से ऐसी वस्तुओं से मोहग्रस्त हो जाते हैं, उनके मनों में भगवान के प्रति भक्ति का दृढ़ निश्चय नहीं होता। त्रैगुण्य विषया वेदः निस्त्रैगुण्यो भवार्जुनः निर्द्वंद्वो नित्य सत्वस्थो निर्योगक्षेमम आत्मवान। वेदों में मुख्यतः प्रकृति के तीनों गुणों का वर्णन हुआ है। हे अर्जुन, इन तीनों गुणों से ऊपर उठो, समस्त द्वैतों और लाभ तथा सुरक्षा की सारी चिंताओं से मुक्त होकर आत्मपरायण बनो। So in these shlokas, Krishna is indicating to him the reasons as are given in Sankhya philosophy, which is why we get trapped and why it gets difficult for us to keep the sukh dukh labh jay parajay at the same level, which means loss and gain at the same level, is because one, due to the lack of the correct knowledge and understanding, what happens is we get more and more invested in our sensory perceptions, like this is pleasurable, this is non this is not pleasurable, this is comfortable, this is very uncomfortable, so I will not do that. That is basically our senses telling us what we like or what we do not like. And then he further explains that why this like and dislike happens is because of primarily these three gunas, or three specific characteristics which make us as individuals, which make our body mind constructs. And these three gunas are I think what he is. So these three gunas which are explained in Sankhya are Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Or is it Vata, Pitta, Kapha, or is it Tamas, Rajas, Sattva? Yeah, I think it's Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas.
Yes, because those are doshas.
Doshas, yeah.
But
no, those are also gunas, but they eventually translate into doshas, but those are something different. They are related to matter. But Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are these three gunas where or three different what we say tendencies, broad tendencies or pravrittis. And because of our attachment to these three predispositions that we have, and if Jessica, would you like to share a little bit about these three predispositions, because I think you know about Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas?
no, I know more about Vat, Pit, and
Acha.
Kaf, and how I'm more Kaf. And I know a little bit. I mean, aspiring to be more Sattvic, but kind of stuck in more sensory things. Definitely stuck in sensory things.
But it's so I think somebody who knows a little bit more about Ayurveda or Sankhya in detail would know very well how to explain these three gunas. A little bit that I know is that there are three predispositions which we all might have, all of them, or predominance of any of these three qualities. So tamas is basically synonymous to something dark or something what we on a very surface level called not good. Like some tamasic pravrittis is like predisposition to get more anger, more hatred, or those dark qualities of human life. Now, important thing to understand is that Vedas nowhere say that something is bad or something is good. They just say that these are the tendencies, because all the tendencies and predispositions have both positive and negative manifestations to them, except for, I think, the sattvic predisposition. So tamasic is basically just that, predisposition towards all of those tendencies to, or those energies to fight and basically stay in that survival mode. Rajas are the predispositions which help us sustain in the world, which is like, yeah, Manmeet, that's a very good point, because whenever I think of this word tamas, I also think of the novel written by who's the author of the novel? Not Safdar Hashmi. Tamas was written by who? I've forgotten.
Sorry, it's Bhishma Sani.
Bhishma Sahni, yes. Why did I remember Safdar Hashmi? God knows.
Too
Bhishma
new for
Sahni,
partition. Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
it just hit me when you said darkness. I mean, what could be a better word to explain that whole mayhem which happened? Yeah.
Exactly. So there was, yeah, exactly. There was everything tamasic about that incident that happened, because it was so full of fear, so full of hatred, envy, anger, and all of those things were prevailing at that moment. And humans behaved like animals, literally animals, out of fear and rage, just indulged in their survival mode. And so those predispositions and those tendencies in us are the tamasic tendencies. Then are the rajasic. Rajasic is primarily means all those tendencies that help us sort of flourish and create the resources around us. So all the resourcefulness, the transactional ability, the interactions with people, building relationships, doing the tasks and striving, working hard. And so all those qualities that help us create the world around us are the rajasic tendencies. And then also enjoy this world that we create around us, and it does include a lot of striving and a lot of indulgence. And then the third predispositions or tendencies are the sattvic ones, and sattvics are like very godly kind of tendencies that we consider, where kindness and compassion and a bit of a dissociation and detachment from the worldly indulgence, and more chastity and more purity, and those kind of tendencies are more sattvics. So interesting thing is that Krishna here says that primarily because of these three gunas or these three tendencies, people are not able to detach or disassociate from these sensory perceptions or sensory indulgences. So he says that you would need to move beyond these three. So which means that he's even including the sattvic tendencies as well. And he says that you would even need to move beyond sattvic tendencies uh, in order to reach at that place where you become sambhav for good and bad, and loss and gain. So that is, I think, a very interesting point to note here, because otherwise normally we would feel like, oh my god, I'm so kind, or I have to become very very empathetic and compassionate. But even in those sattvic qualities, there is still a little bit of attachment, a very, very subtle level of attachment to gain something or to be something, which comes in the way of being in that really sambhav state.
Komal, can you help me understand the meaning of sambhav?
Sambhav, which means, so bhav means, how do I explain it? Some of our Hindi Sanskrit words are so difficult to translate in English, but bhav means bhavana, and sam means saman, which means equal. So we have equal sort of, if I say the closest word to bhav is emotion. So we do not have any inclination towards something or away from something, but sam means that equal, that we are treating every situation from the equal sort of an equanimity of emotion, basically not getting
So
biased.
not preferring either sukh or dukh, looking at them with the same detachment
With
or
the
the
same
same.
detachment or with the same sort of feeling. Yeah.
That's very interesting, the point you made towards the end about kindness. I
Yeah.
guess I'm stuck there. And now when you say it, I realize उसमें भी कहीं मैं है.
And
कहीं
it's
मैं.
an interesting part is that मैं is very subtle. That ego is very, very subtle, and it takes more effort to identify that.
Yeah, very interesting. Probably today I'm going to just think about this.
Thank you.
What I say might be slightly off track, but I just like Googled the three gunas, and what is like the key words that I read, tamas being darkness and chaos, and rajas is activity and passion.
Yeah.
And sattva is beingness and harmony. And I don't know, it's not the exact words, but I was thinking about um like Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and then how Shiva is the destroyer, and then Brahma creator, and Vishnu the I don't know what is the sustenance part, right? So it's like, I don't know, my mind was drawing some parallels which probably don't exist, but
No, it does. You are right. Yeah. So that
it's like
Trinity, yeah.
just the role of all three is so important, and it's not that like destruction and chaos is needed for something new to come up, and then there needs to be some energy to sustain something that is created.
Now, if you see, all of these three are the forces of nature. So creation, which we keep, synonymous to sattvic, is the power of creation or power to create something, which is, synonymous to Brahma, or creation is again a nature's, cyclical capability that nature creates. And then Vishnu is kept equal to Rajas, or sustenance or maintenance of the world, which is equally important. And then Shiva is considered uh, equivalent to destruction, or destruction basically is transformation.
Yeah.
Because the process of destruction transforms what is seen the way it is to something different. So if we see how a tree grows out of a small seed, so when we say, oh, a plant is growing from the seed, it has all of these elements. The element of creation is there because but then there is an element of destruction too, because in order for the plant to come up, the seed is to be destroyed.
Yeah.
So that's the way of looking at it. Like all of these three gunas are part of nature, and they are very much part of us humans also. But there are different ways of looking at them in the subtle and the gross ways. So both the ways are there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is definitely a way of looking at them and understanding these three qualities. And the interesting part is, Jessica, in the Vedic literature, these trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh have not been there. The gods of the Vedic literature were Indra, Varuna, Surya, and all of them, but Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh have not been there. They appear in the later texts of Puranas and the Smriti literature.
Okay.
Yeah. So Yavan Earth Udpane Sarvatah Samuluptodake Tavan Sarveshu Vedeshu Brahmanasya Vijanatah. एक छोटे से कूप का सारा कार्य एक विशाल जलाशय से तुरंत पूरा हो जाता है, इसी प्रकार वेदों के आंतरिक तात्पर्य जानने वाले को उनके सारे प्रयोजन सिद्ध हो जाते हैं. So here he's saying that the significance of the right knowledge is that when you have the correct understanding, it says antarik tatparya, which means the innermost meaning, which is the deepermost meaning of what the Vedas suggest. Those who know that, all of their actions, all of their work are taken care of. So he is again indicating Arjun to try and go to the depth of the understanding and not just try and stay on the surface in the gross. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturbhu ma te sangostavi karmani. He says, तुम्हें अपना कर्म करने का अधिकार है, किंतु कर्म के फलों के तुम अधिकारी नहीं हो. तुम न तो कभी अपने आप को कर्मों के फलों का कारण मानो और न ही कर्म करने में तुम्हारी कभी आसक्ति हो. So these four things are very important here. He says that your only right is to do your action. You only deserve to focus on what is your rightful action. You are not deserving of the outcome of your actions. So do not try to do any action because you desire a particular outcome from there, because that is not. He says adhikari nahi ho, which is sort of like you're not deserving, so you don't know what outcome you are deserving of. And do not even consider yourself to be the reason for your actions, and never get attached to your action. So in a way, I think very deeply he's trying to indicate that, one, not to do an action because we want a certain outcome, because we do not know whether we deserve that outcome or not, whether that outcome is for me or not. And not even take that credit that, oh, I have achieved something because I have worked hard for it, because it's not necessary that whatever you are getting as a reward is because of your action. And therefore do not get attached to that particular action. Now this is really making me think that, so there is a new meaning of it which is sort of emerging for me right now, is that yes, karma is only the action, but immediately the reward that I get isn't necessarily depending upon what I've done just now. So in a way, it's saying that whatever we get in our life, whatever rewards or whatever punishments, so to say, are not directly associated with what I have done right now. So this is now taking me back to the understanding, to the broader understanding of karma, which is like there are three kind of karmas. How we understand is, one is the sanchit karma, which is like an aggregate of uh, the karma or the actions. Then is prarabdha karma, and then there is agami karma. So what sanchit karma is said is like in mass consciousness or in common consciousness, there is a certain aggregate of different karmas that have been done, and there is like, and in every life that we are born into, we are born with some prarabdha, which means certain life journeys that we have to take, certain karmas that we have to go through. So, which is already sort of decided for us. That is the prarabdha that we have to go through. And then, whatever action we are doing right now in this lifetime is creating the agami karma, which is like creating the new karmas for us. So, which primarily means is like the way we look at anything right now, like, okay, this is my goal, this is this much I want to earn right now. And so I will take this job, I'll do this thing, and then I will make my goals and strategies and I'll work towards that, thinking that whatever I'm doing right now is bringing me the result, which is right now. And that is a mindset, or I think that is something which keeps us attached and keeps us binded to the different actions which we are doing. Whereas what Krishna is suggesting in here is that I'm probably getting anything right now because of the actions that have been done in the past, which means not just this past life, but even a previous life. And I think that kind of answers some of the questions which I've had growing up, where I would see some people not doing really hard work and not doing really good deeds, but still having a lot of affluence and still having a lot of name and fame for themselves. And it seems like that no, they hadn't really done anything to really deserve that. But what he is saying is, indirectly in a way, is that there is a different relationship between what you get and what you have to do in this lifetime. Does it make sense, or am I confusing you even more?
No, Komal, it makes a lot of sense. I wish we had more time and we must take this up because there's a lot to talk about. So two things which are they are jumping in my head right now.
Hmm.
One thing you said was that don't own this action. So, अक्सर हम writing में बोलते हैं, I haven't written this story. The universe gifted me this story. This piece
Yeah.
of poetry has been, I'm the medium, bring it to the world, right? So it's not my piece of poetry. I'm not the owner of it.
Yeah.
So so you have been given this task to do. Like universe has planted you here to this task. So it's really not your own. And the second thing which is really, really firing up is that what you think is the reward today can become a shrap tomorrow. जो सुख का कारण है वही दुख का कारण बनेगा. So then the whole thing that you just said, being detached to the loss and the gain, आपने क्या हिंदी का वो शब्द बोला था जो मुझे समझ भी नहीं आया था,
Somehow. Somehow.
संभाव. So all that is all the dots are getting connected there, and what you just said is making all the sense. That so when I also get into the trap of getting immediate results, something which we should remember, that
Mm.
you
Yeah,
have to do the right thing today. You don't know when you will get the benefit of it, but you got to do the right thing today. And
exactly.
that's how the karma is, like कहते हैं ना बही खाता खुला हुआ है तुम्हारा, वो खाता भरता जा रहा है.
Exactly. So I think for today we should leave it here because this one has really opened up. Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Ma karma phal heturbhu ma te sangostavi karmani. I mean, God knows how many times I would have repeated this particular shloka, but the meaning that's evolving for me today is completely different. So thank you so much. And I
Thank you
think
so much, Komal. Yeah, I mean, please take this forward in the next session. We should discuss this. I mean, what's very interesting is that today we have been connecting real life with Gita repeatedly. Even
yeah,
though we did the less shlokas, but we kept on drawing the parallels, which was,
yeah.
I'm very, very grateful to you that you're taking this on.
No, absolutely. That's what
Yeah,
I said in the
thank you.
beginning, it's our work, our pace, we'll take it up.
Yeah, it's a very unique opportunity, and this has also sparked a lot other questions in my mind. I've also heard this, but never really dissected it in this detail. But there is so much that it is sparking in me. So we'll continue this next week.
Absolutely. So let's start next week from seeing, what showed up for us in this 1 week for this particular shloka. All
Yeah,
right.
sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the homework. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good
night.
night. Bye bye.
Bye.